Hello, my marketing friends. I hope you are doing well today. This is Dr. Grayson. We are going to talk about a really important concept in integrated marketing communications in the concept of digital channels. So, one of the things that I hear from nearly most of my marketing students, particularly those interested in integrated marketing communications or promotions, is you want to be social marketers, you want to be influencers. And those things are all great. But one of the things that I want you to understand as we move through discussing digital channels, social marketing, and all of those other digital types of promotions is that a channel is a marketing channel, a promotions channel. And what I mean by a promotions channel is the way in which you reach your customer. So long ago, forever, basically, we've had traditional channels. And traditional channels could be word of mouth, me talking to you. It could be an email or, say, for example, a car wrap or a billboard or a television commercial. So what's really important to understand is that social marketing or digital channels is just another channel of communication. And the most important thing to remember is not that you're doing social marketing, you're using a particular channel with the right message to the right audience at the right time. So marketing channels and promotion channels have changed throughout time, and we will continue to iterate, particularly in the digital space. So I just wanted you to keep in mind that we're focusing on the channel or the medium on which we can reach our target audience. So that said, what we're going to focus on today is comparing and contrasting a number of different digital media channels. I want you to think about how to analyze each channel based on its usage, based on its demographics, and the fit to various target audience in your promotion. And then finally, I want you to reflect on digital channel opportunities related to your client's marketing goals so that you have enough information to build a plan out for the digital channel piece of your integrated marketing communications plan you are doing for your client. So I'm going to spend the most of today going through some studies and most of them are very recent. I've tried to get some from 2021 this year, and I want to show you a lot of analytics and try to get you thinking about how you might use particular digital channels. So the first thing is that, as you all know, we spend a lot of time on digital activities. 8 hours a day is what's anticipated in 2022. So digital activities, obviously anything that you do on your computer, what you're streaming on your telephone or your cell phone, your mobile phone, your televisions, the audio in your car. Are you listening to a smart speaker, etc.? All of these things have really consumed where we obtain our information. So knowing that every consumer spends about 8 hours a day on average on digital activities, it's probably going to be an important part of your marketing strategy to reach them. So let's look at social media in general. So social media continues to grow. So I started out the highest level globally. 3.6 billion people today use social media. And we estimate that 4.41 billion people will be projected to use social media channels in 2025. So we know that our audience at a large scale is there. So let's look at the United States. So over half of consumer purchase decisions were influenced by some type of social media advertising. That is 51%. And then also the industry for advertising for brands, companies, products Social network advertising spending is $40.3 billion in the United States alone. So you know that there is a very strong likelihood that you will need to use these digital channels, particularly considering social media channels as well, in your marketing mix as you consider your promotion strategy. So here I wanted to show you, so social media, as I've noticed, this is where we're just looking at the United States here. So you can see in 2008, when I first got my first Facebook and Twitter account, we had about 10 million people. And you can see we have a nice bell curve here in terms of social media usage. So here we've, like the past 4 years or the past 5 years, we've started to flatten out. So you will see, 2020 and 2021 with the pandemic, there was an increase in social media usage just because so many of us were at home and looking to communicate through these channels. So look at the increase. We have 2.33 million people in the United States estimated that they are using social media, and you wonder at some point in time, is this just going to flatten off, or will this be like other marketing channels and start to go down? So we've seen for about the past 5 years that this has stayed relatively flat. So where are people consuming their social media? So there's a lot of different studies on this. I pulled one called the Infinite Dial, which I'll be using throughout the lecture here. And if you're looking at the U.S. population, 12 years and older, we still have the majority of people in Facebook, followed by Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat. You will see here that Twitter and TikTok is relatively the same. LinkedIn and Parler, a new channel, is starting to emerge as well. But what I've noticed is that TikTok has really ramped in the last couple of years. So here I want to show you which has, what the shift has been. So again, 12 and older. So here you can see that in 2015 we had, the majority on Facebook, and we still have the majority on Facebook here in 2021, but you can see that it's declining and the mix of channels is changing a little bit, where Instagram is now a little bit higher at 18%. You have Snapchat, you've got TikTok, which has really emerged since 2020, and some of the others here. So you will see that as marketing channels come to market, you will see that likely this mix will be different. And what I wanted to express to you a little bit is that the mix is by age as well. So if you can see here, most used, the younger people are using Instagram, the biggest in TikTok, the biggest in Snapchat. So this is your 12 to 34-year-olds. Your millennial baby boomers, still a lot on Facebook. Same here with the mature market. But you will see that depending on the age and depending on the demographics of who you're attempting to reach, you might use a different mix of marketing, social marketing channels. So let's talk a little bit about, so that's really the consumer piece. So let's focus now on, what about business social channels? What are businesses focusing on as they decide to communicate through channels? And again, we've got a pretty interesting mix of where businesses are starting to use or communicate, from Facebook to YouTube, WhatsApp, TikTok a little bit, Twitch even a little bit higher. So you'll see that this is the mix, at least of 2019, of where businesses are focusing their time and energy. So what I wanted to also discuss with you was really important, and I had this as one of our goals today to learn, is that it's really important for you to set an objective of a goal as to why you are going to use a social media channel. Is it basically to build brand awareness, where most businesses do? manage reputation, gain customer insights, sell products and services, deliver support. There's a lot that we can use in terms of social channels beyond just creating demand for products and services. We can build engagements of communities. We can speak to our customers. We can use it as a marketing research tool. So while 61% of businesses use it to increase conversion, 50% of businesses use it to gain consumer or market insights. So let's take a little look here, dig deeper into one specific channel. So we have Facebook engagement here, where you can see the engagement of the followers, really differ by category, by industry. So for example, hotels and resorts, many people go to Facebook. They have more engagement, meaning they are communicating with the brands at 0.15%. Overall, the engagement with the Facebook channel is about 0.09%, so still not very high. So what about the usage of, social media to follow brands? So let's put yourself into your consumer hat now, and you're choosing to follow, let's say, Dixie State University or some other brand. This is where you, as a follower, are focusing on which channel you're going to follow your brand on. So the majority is Instagram, which you probably think are Twitter, because that's obviously where your news is going to come from. Instagram, probably your product offers, etc. So here you can see that and this is as of October 2020, so it's pretty recently. So you as a follower follow brands in these particular channels. So I want you to really think about that as you think of the demographics or the target audience that you're trying to reach. So Instagram engagement is a little bit higher. So think of yourself as a brand and you're posting on these different sites and you want to engage with your target audience. Instagram has a 1.6% overall engagement rate. Whereas again, if you look at these different categories, the highest is health and beauty. And I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, we've all seen influencer ads, etc. On Instagram for health and beauty. So that's a big channel for them. Not for profit is large, sports teams. So think about, again, your products, your services, your industries, and which channels you believe that your target audience is engaging on. So let's talk a little bit about purchase influence. So I gave you a big number at the beginning that 51% of consumers have used social media to create an influence. So in this case, I want to show to you that the number one place where people still influence is in positive reviews on social media. So although, like here, inspired a purchase from social media is pretty high at 29%, think about this is word of mouth, product reviews, tips and tricks, and person to person reviews are really, word of mouth is really the highest driver. Whereas here you can see, and this is a little bit dated, it's from 2019. Endorsements from influencers and celebrities at 17%, it's high, but is it truly where most people get their information? In some verticals, health and beauty, I would say yes, absolutely. And others, maybe not so much. So you have to really think about what product and service you're selling, and is it going to be important for you to have an influence or not? So my question to my students all the time is, has influencer marketing hit the tipping point? And one thing I will say about influencer marketing is that I have so many of my students say, I want to be an influencer. You kind of have to look at this as Is it really going to be worth your time and energy to be a personal influencer? How are you going to obtain those followers? Do you have a special niche or something entertaining that's going to get somebody to want to come back to you over and over again? Most influencers have a story. They have a background. They already are popular in some way. So I try to guide students in the fact that, of course it might be fun to be an influencer, but be realistic about, how you're going to reach people and if you're going to be able to compete with some of those other influencers. So let's look a little bit here at the brand's average social media post engagement rate. So if you look here, so most brands post most often on Instagram, followed by Facebook, followed by Twitter. And that hasn't changed very much, actually. It's changed just a slightly higher from 2019 to 2020. So remember that in terms of your business pages, you'll want to think strategically about which channel you are going to post on. So let's talk a little bit more about influencers. So influencer marketing is widely popular, as you all know, as we as brands try to determine how are we going to get people to follow us, how are we going to have engagement with our customers and reach the objectives that we're looking for. They're really popular on the video channels, Instagram, where you can place your stories. But what I also want to note to you is that from a business perspective, the challenge for brands is that many of the influencers have fake followers. And this is a challenge because you as a company spend money based on the number of followers, the number of engagements that influencers have. And if influencers have bought or have fake followers that are controlled by bots and things like that, it can cost you a lot of money. It can also cost the social media channels a lot of money in terms of monitoring what's fake and what's not fake. And in fact, it has even decreased their stock price when they have removed fake accounts. So you've got this dynamic of, you have an industry that's being paid by the number of followers, the number of engagement, and if it's not real, it could really interestingly make you spend more money as a business, or if you are Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter and you delete millions of accounts, it might impact your stock price. So it is an interesting challenge for businesses. So what is the most effective digital marketing tactic? Now, again, this is going to be based on your target audience, but from this particular study here, it indicates that positive reviews on social media, as I mentioned before, is the word of mouth is the best influence. So what about marketing capabilities? Who has the most influence? Is it a trusted friend or family, which seems to be, or an influencer you've seen on, on YouTube or Instagram, a celebrity, or none of the above? Here, as I mentioned before, most of your academic research will show that trusted family or friend or ratings and reviews, people positive word of mouth is the best way to convert purchase decisions. So how do you go about doing this? So we're still in the business mindset here. So what I want you to do, and this is in Canvas as well as part of your readings, is I want you to think about Facebook Blueprint training. If you are interested in creating a business Facebook page, I want you to take this training that they have on Blueprint. It's very good. Complete the modules. It will show you what you need to do. It's going to walk through very clearly setting objectives. How do you reach people? What is your target audience? What types of budgets you're going to spend, as well as some tools on how you can create your stories and your posts. So Facebook pages, if you are a business account, you have to have a Facebook page in order to post. And along with the Facebook page, you have to have a personal page to go along with that. So just remember to do that training, walk through it. It's very well done, and I'm so glad that Facebook provides free training to people because it's a great way for you to just really learn. It's also a good tool for you to put on your resume or to speak intelligently while you're having job interviews. So just a couple of quick facts. A business page must be associated with a personal page for Facebook. You need to determine what is your category. Remember, we talked a little bit about health and beauty, education. You need to determine what your category is. And then I want you to think about all of what we've learned about in branding. What is your brand personality? Have you clearly showed where you're located? What is your call to action? Do you want people to buy now? Do you want them to learn more? Do you want them to find you? And think about how you're going to attract likes and followers to your pages. So that in a nutshell is just very high level, some statistics, some tips on social media channels. I wanted to provide a little bit of information on emerging and other digital channels. So one of the emerging channels is audio. And one of the statistics I'd like to show you, because I came from this space before I became a professor, I came from the smart home space, and I wanted to show you the increase in just a few years, 5 years, 7 million to an estimated 94 million people own a smart speaker. So you know that a smart speaker is something that you carry with you, something you keep in your house in which you can interact with. So smart speaker ownership has increased, as you can see here, as people are working from home. So if you own if you work from home and 49% own a smart speaker. This has really increased with the pandemic. So how many speakers do we have per household? As you can see, just a couple years ago, we went from 1.7 to 2.2 average speakers per household. So not only are we using them in our common spaces, you probably have them in your personal space as well. So online audio listening. So, have you listened to a podcast? Have you listened to streaming services, books, etc.? You can see here we also have a bell curve starting. So in the last 20 years, we've seen some increase here, and now we're starting to see that online audio listening is probably going to hit its pinnacle and then go down again, like most marketing channels do. But let's look. So who is listening online? We've got the younger generation here, and we've got a good population of the middle-aged, and then lesser so in the 55 and out above, the mature market. So you'll know as you target your audiences where you might want to spend your money. If you are focused on the mature market, maybe audio isn't the best place for you, but if you're looking at Gen Z, this would be a great place for you to look. So how much time do people spend? Average weekly time spent on audio listeners has been, it's gone from 6 to 16 hours in a week. So 16 hours in a week is a lot for audio listeners. So these people are committed to that particular channel. So I just wanted to show you here again. Remember, I mentioned the smart speakers. So you can see of the people who own Amazon, the people who own a Google Nest Smart, where they're spending their time. So you've got Spotify here is the highest, Pandora followed by Google Play, Apple Music, Amazon Music. Obviously is higher for the Amazon product, etc. So again, you need to slice down and figure out not only which channels you're going to use, which specific mediums are you going to use, not the mediums, just the specific channels, Spotify, Pandora, etc. So just a brief note about live streaming. As you know, esports is huge. It's really starting to gain momentum, and it's a place you might want to think about doing some promotion. So currently, as you can see here, the last 3 years, those who have ever watched a live stream video game, up to 20%. So we're talking about 5% in the last few years have actually watched somebody else play a video game online. And have they played themselves? About half of them have played themselves. So it's really interesting that this might be an emerging channel you might want to look at, particularly for the younger generation. Because as you can see here, it's the younger people, that 18 to 30, 12 to 34, that are really connecting and watching live video games. When you look at men versus women, it's really skewed just a titch more to men than women, but I do think maybe there is some other elements that you might want to look at. So we talked about audio in general, speakers, videos. Now let's talk about podcasts. So podcasts has been, familiarity with podcasts is relatively high, and then those people who are actually listening to podcasts is about 162 million, or about 57% of the population in the United States. So again, you've got a relatively nice growing population of people. It's not, it's growing relatively slowly, but we might start to see again it start to even off there. So who's listening? Again, if you look at men versus women, it's pretty close, 43% versus 39%. So I think you'd be pretty safe in targeting one or the other based on the type of podcast or maybe the channel that you're doing. So I know we've gone through a lot of information here. I've thrown out a lot of statistics for you, but I want you to start thinking more deeply about digital channels, particularly social marketing, and understanding the most important thing, again, is reaching the right target audience in the right medium at the right time. So understand where that target audience is consuming their information. Create a consumer journey map for your target audience and that particular product or service so that you can tell, okay, when they're in the awareness phase, are they on Facebook? Is it some other digital channel that they'll be using? Like, maybe we haven't talked about paid placement ads yet, but maybe it's a different place where they're consuming information. When they're getting ready to buy, is that where you're going to be on TikTok or maybe YouTube? If they've already purchased, are you going to have some how-tos? Are you going to have some engagement through some channels? So think about that. Be very clear on your objective. Again, take out that consumer buyer's journey. Are you there to sell something? Do you want them to buy now, or you want to get some brand awareness? Then I want you to think about committing a budget for different channels and really evaluate the success of that budget. Commit to it. Test and learn. Not everything is going to work, because remember, it's not just about the channel. It is so much about the messaging. It is so much about the offer and getting in front of the right audience. So test and learn and constantly iterate, and then ensure so much that your message is on point with your brand. I know we've talked about trending and storytelling and other things in this class, but it's important for you to understand that just because somebody on TikTok may be doing some funny little dance doesn't necessarily mean that resonates with your particular brand. It could counteract what you're doing. So it's fun to follow trends. It's fun to communicate, but make sure that whatever you're doing aligns with your message, your vision, your objectives. So that was our introduction to digital channels and a little bit of social marketing. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact me. Email me, probably the best way, via Canvas, or feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and become a follower. Again, thank you so much, and I hope that you've enjoyed this information. go back and take a look at the statistics, particularly as you start to hone in on creating your own strategies. So take care, everyone, and have a fantastic day.